Hi, in today's session we are going to create something granular. It's going to be a granular effect, a pretty complex buffer effect, which was user requested. So if you want to hear something, send us your requests and we will try to do it or show how to do it, because there's many things that you can do inside this software. First things first, my effect is going to be mono for the time being, so I convert it to mono. I create two inputs, add them together and multiply them by 0.5, so they do not distort or do not get too loud if the signal is a bit less mono compatible. So I add these two together and that's going to be the output, and I call this mono. And yes, this is the first step. Now I'm going to create a gain node, because I like to have it as the last step. And I'm going to create a con here, so I can split the signal like this. This is only cosmetics, so I see what I'm doing. The next step is to create a gated delay node, which is a complex node. It doesn't look too complex. You can see that it has space for some scope and stuff, but it doesn't look too complex for the first sight. And it has two inputs only, a delay, which I create. It can receive any input values between 0 and 5000, and these values mean milliseconds, so 0 is here on the right side, 5000 is there on the left side. And it has a gate, and if I play the sequencer now, it should play a piano melody, which you won't hear because the gate is not on. Because the gated delay only writes into the buffer if the gate is active. So I give it a constant of 1 and you will hear the unchanged signal. And this is pretty much what we wanna hear. So what we are going to do next is to create an LFO, which is going to be a square wave, and we are going to quantize the delay to this LFO. So I show you why, because if we can jump around with the delay and it's interpolated, which is good, we will use that, but for the time being we wanna quantize it, so we will step whenever this square gets high. So I multiply the output, use a change node, and I even put an LED behind this patch so you can see when we have a new trigger, like that. And if I move the delay around, it jumps. And if I play the piano, it's pretty likely that we get clicks when we jump around like this, so we have to care about it, and we can do it. using another LFO with triangle waveform. Set the frequency to 0 and the frequency modulation to the top, and the frequency output of the LFO should be plugged into the frequency modulation input, and we wanna retrigger this LFO whenever this square LFO gets high. So we connect the blinking LED to the gate and create a con so it looks more clean. And if we multiply the output of the gated delay with this LFO, we will have a fade in and fade out sound. But what we don't have now is clicking, but what we also don't have now is continuous signal. So I duplicate this delay and create another variable, give it the same delay input, I rearrange these guys because it's a bit messed up. And this is going to be fed into the delay input, and we will need a trigger that is offset exactly by 90 degrees. So we need the opposite of this square wave and multiply it with the change. And if I plug an LED here and plug that into the trigger, and if I add these two together, this, you can see that they are blinking completely offset, which is what we want. But we also want to multiply these, and for that we will need the same triangle wave, but this time subtracted from 1, which is again the opposite. And all these signals are best visible on a scope, so I show them to you. So here we have our square wave, and the opposite. Here we have our triangle wave and the opposite. And then we have our trigger and the opposite. It's opposite day. So if I play the piano now and I leave everything on 0, we will hear the original sound. Except that I forgot to give an input to the gated delay, and that I did not gate it. So if I play the piano now, the thing that should have happened before will happen now. And we can jump around. But if I remove the gate, we cannot hear anything, which is not what we want. So let's work on this. First things first, we need to add something to this delay, to both, and it's going to be a value that is incrementing, because we wanna move this head to the left or to the right, and the value that we wanna increment it with is going to be based on the sample rate, and exactly on the reciprocal of the sample rate, which we have to multiply by 1000 to get it to milliseconds, because now it's in seconds, the reciprocal of a second, and that's the value we wanna use. But this way we would go towards this side, and we wanna go towards that side, because that's the way we wanna read the buffer. So I took the negative of it, and I wanna reset this value every time we have a trigger here. So I align these guys, and I create another incrementer and plug it the same way, but from the other LED. And we are getting there. This incrementer should work on that part, this incrementer on that, and we are starting to be pretty complex, but we need to take care about the delay time. So if we go above 5000, we wanna be somewhere in the start, so we have to modulo this whole thing by 5000. And if we go below 0, we wanna have the positive value of what we had, so we use the absolute value. And we can pretty much we can play around with this, but we still can do more. We can add some noise to the delay times, which is going to make it sound funny, or a bit more interesting, a bit like a reverb. And I'm going to create a noise, LFO noise. I move this input to the left, more to the left, and this way the patch is more easy to see through. So we wanna add this noise to the delay time, and to scale the noise we wanna multiply it with a value, and that value is going to be dependent on the delay. So we wanna subtract it from the maximum delay, which is 5000, and multiply it with a knob, which is going to be the spread, or better, random, and plug that in. It was better like that. Yeah, it's visible this way. So let's add some random. Actually, I don't even want this. I want the delay, I just don't want to subtract it. This is just going to be the range between 0 and 5000. And no need to multiply, just to multiply it with the LFO. Make it exponential. Or poor piano, but it's pretty much getting there. But what we want to do is to modify the pitch, which we also can do by simply multiplying this minus 1000 with a value, let's say, between 1 and 2. Which is amazing. And one more thing we should notice is if we start the gate, if we give it a gate again, then the whole waveform is going to move from left to right. And our playhead is moving from the left to the right, and if the waveform moves from the right to the left, the pitch is going to be double. So what we can do is, if we add the gate, then we multiply this with 0. So I create a knob, I call it gate, step, up. I truncate it, so it's really only 0 and 1. And I connect this to these gate inputs. Like this. And I'm going to subtract it from 1, somewhere there, and multiply it by that value. And this is pitch. This is the playhead. This is random. And we also need to create a knob for frequency. And let's be between 0 and 40. And create some MIDI controls. So let's have a frequency on the first slot, let's have the playhead on the second slot, let's have random on the third one, pitch on the fourth one, and I put gate to the fifth one, and assign some controls to it. And let's see if things work well. So this should pretty much do it for our first granular effect. I really liked it, so this is almost the same as the preset we ship Alpha Forever with, which is called Granulizer, but a bit more clean and a bit better structured. The one in the presets is one of my first experiments from this kind. Well, it's not the first, it's far from the first, but it's the first that made it this far, and now that I have some routine, I was thinking in a much more easier way, and these two LFOs solved lots of the things that I messed up with. And also these incrementals are a big help in the thing. But yeah, to make it stereo you have to double these and plug the inputs in, but I think it was enough like this. So yeah, I hope you like this batch, and I hope it was interesting, and if you like this channel, please subscribe and share it, and share the information about Alpha Forever with the ones you know and might be interested in. And yeah, I think this could also be interesting for those who are not interested in our software, but yeah, I hope you have fun. That's the most important, to have fun. I have fun while doing this, so yeah, it's time to say goodbye. Happy noding, bye bye.